Okay, I want you to start by picturing something with me. It's this diagram that honestly, it just perfectly captures the modern state of mind.
It's a little uncomfortable, isn't it?
It really is. On the left, you've got this huge, tangled, messy scribble. Like a giant knot of yarn a cat just destroyed. It's dense, it's chaotic.
And just looking at it makes you feel a little bit stressed.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
then as you look to the right, that tangled line starts to straighten out. It becomes this single, crisp, clean arrow pointing forward.
It's directed. It has purpose.
And the whole premise we're exploring today is that for most of us, our brains are that scribbled knot on the left.
That's the starting point.
Yeah.
We are just drowning in inputs and tasks and notifications. And what we're unpacking isn't just another time management hack.
Right.
It's about the actual mechanics of moving from that knot to that straight line.
And the end goal isn't just about, ticking off more boxes on a to-do list, is it?
Not at all. The goal is to reach this state called mind like water. It sounds a little poetic, maybe?
A little zen, yeah.
But it's actually a very practical, very real operational state. But to even get there, we first have to understand why we're stuck in that knot in the first place.
Let's do it. Because I think most people just assume I'm stressed because I have too much to do. But that's not really it, is it?
It's a bold claim, but no. The stress doesn't come from the volume of the work. It comes from a biological mismatch.
Okay.
There's a core principle here. Your brain is for having ideas, not holding them.
Having, not holding. I like that. That's the mantra.
It's the cornerstone.
Yeah.
Your short-term memory is, like, biologically tiny. When you use your brain to store stuff, buy milk, email the client, fix the leaky faucet, you're using this incredible processor for really low-grade storage.
And it just drains the battery.
It drains the battery, and on top of that, your brain is actually terrible at the job.
It's awful at it, right?
It has no good way to prioritize. It doesn't have a calendar. It doesn't have a sorting function. So what does it do? It just spins. It just nags you about everything.
And the example used is so perfect. The brain will scream, "You forgot the milk," with the exact same panic as, "We need to finalize that strategic acquisition."
Exactly. It can't tell the difference in magnitude. To the brain, an open loop is an open loop, and it creates the same amount of background anxiety.
So the real goal is to have a ton of stuff to do, but still be able to function with a completely clear head. We need to evict those tasks.
Get them out.
So once we get them out, we get to this mind-like water state. Let's dig into that metaphor. What does that actually feel like?
Okay, so think of a calm pond. If you toss a little pebble into it, what does the water do?
Ripples.
It ripples, but it ripples appropriately. It matches the force. And if you throw a huge boulder in, you get a big splash. But the water never overreacts to the pebble.
And it doesn't underreact to the boulder.
Right. And most importantly, what does it do right after?
It goes right back to being calm instantly.
Whereas a stressed mind is the total opposite. It's stiff, it's reactive. A stressed mind will have a meltdown over a tiny email because it's already full.
And there's this really key point about distraction. A stressed mind is always distracted by what it isn't doing.
That's it. You're in a meeting, but you're thinking about the grocery list. You're at the grocery store and you're thinking about the meeting. Mind like water means you are fully present because you have complete trust in what you are not doing at that moment.
Okay, so we've got the diagnosis leaky brain, we've got the target mind like water. So what's the roadmap? How do we actually get there?
This is where almost everyone fails. They try to do everything all at once. The secret is to separate the behaviors into 5 distinct stages.
Okay, what are they?
Capture, clarify, organize, reflect, and engage.
Capture, clarify, organize, reflect, engage.
Try to do all 5 at the same time, which is what we all do, and you just get friction and failure. You have to take them one by one.
Let's start with phase 1 then, capture. This seems simple on the surface, just write stuff down. But the guide uses a specific word here, corralling.
Yes, corralling your stuff. Think of a giant funnel. You have emails, texts, ideas in the shower, things people tell you in the hallway.
All of these inputs just raining down.
Exactly. And the capture phase is about gathering 100% of those incompletes into a trusted system outside your head.
100% seems intense. Why not just the important stuff?
Because of trust. It's all about trust. If you only capture 95%, your brain knows the system has leaks.
Yeah.
So it won't let go. It'll keep nagging you about everything just in case you forgot to put it in the system.
So you have to prove to your own brain that nothing is slipping through the cracks.
Precisely. Whether it's a physical inbox tray, a notes app, a voice memo, it all has to go into that funnel. You can only feel good about what you aren't doing when you actually know what you aren't doing.
Okay, so our funnel is full, the in basket is overflowing. Now we're at phase 2, clarify, processing everything we just captured.
This is where the sorting happens. You pick up one item at a time from your inbox, an email, a note, whatever, and you run it through a very simple decision tree. The first question is always, is it actionable?
Just a simple yes or no.
Right. If the answer is no, it's easy. It goes to one of three places. Trash, just delete it. Reference, if it's info you need to keep. Or, my personal favorite, someday maybe?
Someday maybe.
Yeah, that's for learn Italian or hike the Appalachian Trail. Things you don't want to forget, but there's no action to take right now.
Okay, but what if it is actionable? If the answer is yes.
Then you have to define the next action. And you have to be super specific, not do taxes, but find accountant's phone number. What is the very next physical thing you need to do?
And once you have that action, we hit probably the most famous part of this whole system.
The 2-minute rule.
Yeah, walk us through that.
It's a really critical cutoff point. You figured out the next action. Now you ask, can I do this in less than 2 minutes? If the answer is yes.
You do it now.
You do ITNW, not later. Don't write it on a list. Don't prioritize it. Just get it done.
But why? What's the logic there?
It's pure efficiency. It would take you longer to log it, track it, and then come back to it later than it would to just fire off that quick email reply or file that one document.
That makes so much sense. But, okay, most of our real work takes longer than 2 minutes. So if the answer is no, what happens then?
Then you have two paths. You delegate it, give it to someone else to do,
Yeah.
or you defer it.
Which just means putting it in the system to do later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that leads us right into phase 3. Organize. Now we have to put all this deferred stuff into the right buckets.
Right. So for the non-actionable stuff, we already have our buckets. Trash, reference, someday maybe.
But for the actionable stuff, there's this huge distinction that trips almost everyone up. It's the difference between projects and next actions.
This is the big one, I think.
It is. We all have a tendency to write outcomes on our to-do lists. You'll write down a plan conference.
And then you just stare at it all day because it's too big.
You procrastinate because you can't do a project. You can only do the actions within the project. A project is just any outcome that takes more than one step to complete.
So plan conference is just the label on a folder.
That's the perfect way to put it. It's just an index. The actual work, the next actions, are like the little Lego bricks inside. Email Sarah about speakers, call the venue, draft the agenda.
So my daily to-do list should never, ever have plan conference on it.
Never. The projects list is just a table of contents that you review every so often. The next actions list is where you live day to day. It completely removes that friction of starting.
Okay, but that next actions list could still get really long and overwhelming. How do we organize that?
With contexts. This is brilliant. Don't just keep one massive list. You sort your next actions by the tool or the place or the person you need to complete them.
You mean like creating a list for at calls or at computer?
Exactly that. At calls, at computer, at errands, for when you're out, at home, at office.
So how does that actually play out in real life?
Imagine you have 10 minutes before your plane boards. You're just standing there with your phone. Instead of scrolling through a giant list of things you can't do, like fix the printer,
You just pull up your at calls list.
and boom, you see 3 quick calls you can knock out right then and there. You're matching your available resources, your time, your location, your tools to the work. It kills that what should I do now decision fatigue.
So we've captured, clarified, and organized. But any system like this can, get messy and fall apart after a week or two. So that brings us to phase 4, reflect.
And this is maybe the most critical success factor of all. If you skip this, the system will die. It's called the weekly review.
Why is it so important?
It comes back to trust. The only reason your brain lets go is because it trusts the system. And you can only trust the system if you know it's current and up to date. If your lists are old, your brain just takes back the job of being the world's worst project manager.
And all the stress comes rushing back. So what happens in a weekly review?
It's a 3-step process. First, get clear, empty your head and your inbox again. Second, get current review all your lists, your calendar, your waiting for items.
And the third step?
Get creative. This is where you look at your projects list, your someday maybe list, and you just think. You zoom out from the weeds.
Okay, so that brings us to the last phase. Phase 5, engage. It's Tuesday morning. Our lists are clean. How do we choose what to do?
Well, the advice here is actually against creating a rigid, time-blocked daily schedule for every task.
Why's that?
Because life happens. That kind of schedule breaks the second the phone rings. Instead, you use the 4 criteria model to make an intuitive choice in the moment.
Okay, what's the first criterion?
Context. What can I do right now? If you're not at the hardware store, you can't buy a hammer. Simple as that.
Criterion 2.
Time available. Do I have 5 minutes or 2 hours? You pick a task that fits the block of time you have.
Number 3.
Energy available. And this is the one we all ignore. Is my brain fresh or is it totally fried? If you're exhausted, don't try to write that complex report. Do some mindless filing instead.
Right. And the last one.
Priority. So, given your context, time, and energy, what's the highest payoff thing you can do right now? It's a much more flexible, realistic way to work.
I want to zoom out for a second. We've been deep in the weeds with lists and contexts, but there's this other concept that explains where our time actually goes.
Oh.
The threefold nature of work.
Yeah, this is so clarifying. At any given moment, you are doing one of three things. One, doing predefined work. That's just working off your list.
It's stuff we just organized.
Two, doing work as it shows up. That's the unexpected stuff, the interruptions, the urgent emails.
Slowed out fires.
And number three is defining your work. That's the meta work, processing your inbox, organizing your lists, doing your weekly review.
And the trap is?
The trap is letting work as it shows up become 100% of your day. You're just reactive. You have to carve out and protect time for defining your work, or you will never, ever feel in control.
If you don't define your own work, the world will define it for you.
That's it.
And that leads perfectly to this last big idea, the horizons of focus, sort of a vertical perspective.
Yeah, think of it like a ladder. The whole approach is bottom up. You have to get the ground level, your next actions under control before you can have the mental clarity to even think about the big picture.
So walk us up the ladder. What are the rungs?
So the ground floor is your next actions. Horizon 1 is your projects. Horizon 2 is your areas of focus and responsibility. Health, finances, career.
Okay.
Horizon 3 is your 1 to 2 year goals. Horizon 4 is your long-term vision. And way up at the top, Horizon 5 is your life purpose.
And the point is, you can't really spend quality time thinking about your life purpose if you're subconsciously stressed about whether you remember to buy cat food.
You can't. You have to bail the water out of the boat before you can look at the horizon.
So this brings us all the way to the end goal. We've done all this. We've built the system. Why? Is it just to be more efficient?
No, it's not about efficiency. The ultimate goal is mastery. It's about having the freedom to be completely and totally present with whatever you're doing.
There's this idea from martial arts that just nails it.
Your ability to generate power is directly proportional to your ability to relax.
It's so counterintuitive, isn't it? We think power comes from gritting your teeth, from tension.
But any martial artist will tell you that tension makes you slow and weak. When your mind is cluttered and tense, you're ineffective. But when your mind is clear, when it's like water, you can generate incredible power because all your focus is on the single thing in front of you.
So to bring it all home, back to where we started, we went from that tangled, anxious knot to a single, clear, straight line.
And the way we did it was by getting the mess out of our heads. We externalized the chaos so our brain could finally do what it's actually good at, which is having new ideas, thinking.
So a final thought for you to take away from all this. We just heard that power comes from relaxation. If that's really true, then maybe the most productive thing you can do right now isn't to force your way through another task. Maybe the most productive thing you can do is just to stop keeping it all in your head.
Put it in a trusted system and give your mind permission to relax.
Go grab a piece of paper, open a notes app, and just start capturing those open loops. Thanks for diving in with us.
See you next time.